First podcast, we're going to be doing a set review on the assists, all from Glowing Diva and the starter decks that were introduced in Glowing Diva. This is the long one, people, so buckle in. We're going to try to talk about them. We're also going to talk about how assists work in terms of on their teams, and if they are a good team break. I would talk about how they're okay for team breaking as well. The first one we're going to talk about is Akino Rock. It's got a grow cost of 0, level 1, and it is return target level 2 or less signing from the opponent's field to its hand, aka better removal because it's better to toss something into their hand than to vanish it. So Akino Rock is what I would put down as a staple. In your no limit decks, you are going to be using Akino Rock over the other option. That's going to happen a lot of these times. You're going to compare this literally to its counterpart. As far as is it good when you go team breaks? And the answer is, yeah, it's actually still good when you go team breaks. It's pretty efficient. The fact that it can hit 2/3 of the entirety of the board, and it will hit basically everything that it wants to hit in this early game, and a level 1 you want it to affect early game, means that as far as removal goes, this is one of the most efficient removals that you could do. Plus, it has the benefit of not vanishing, so you're not intercharging your opponent either. There's very few exceptions. I would say this is probably one of the best lane clearers in assisting white. Let's talk about Akio Thumbs Up. Akio Thumbs Up, you get to look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You can reveal 1 white signia and 1 red signia among them, add them to your hand, put the rest in the bottom in any order. So here's the interesting thing too. Akino Thumbs Up level 1 grow cost 0 is also very good. However, in the more aggressive decks, you're going to want to end up with that lane opening, because just a reliable, good lane opening like that is worth its weight in gold. You can sandbag on it if you want to and then move forward. This thing wants you to find, it's basically hand fixing. So, oh no, I didn't open up my 2 1-drops on turn 1, and I don't have a 2-drop for turn 2. What do I do? Akino Thumbs Up will fix that problem. It's probably better in other teams than it is in the no limit deck, because in the no limit deck you just want the lane opening. Plus you have a much better way to draw cards. I'd say it's not much better, but it is a better way to draw cards. Also, this stops you really from going super mono red in the deck, and that can be a hindrance. So you're probably often drawing 1. But Rey has a bunch of draw stuff, so that's why this card will be rated lower. However, there are times that you're going to run into the fact that you kind of want a mid-range deck team, and you want to be able to draw cards, and then this assist will allow you to do that, and then you'll be like, okay, using a green Enercharge assist as well. So it's okay team broken, but normally you're going to go for Akio Rock because it's just efficient. Let's talk about some more Akios. Akio Paper. They have not made an Akio Scissors yet, by the way, and I don't know what an Akio Scissors would look like, but we have an Akio Paper and Akio Rock. Akio Paper. Its grow cost is 5. That's a ton. You get 2 enter abilities, and it comes with an attack phase timing. For just generally speaking here, most level 2s have attack phase timing. Very few level 1s have attack phase timing, so if I miss that, just keep that in mind. It has the ability to return target signy from your opponent's field with power 12,000 or less to its owner's hand, and target opponent's signy gets the constant you can't attack till end turn. Is that worth 5 enter? And I think the answer is no, it's not. The way that I would rate this is I would say that the returning target signy from your opponent's field to their hand is probably worth 2 enter. And then, it's worth 3 enter really is the real amount, but we want to pay less, so 2 enter. And the not being able to attack is something I would rate 0.5 to 1 enter. I want to stress that because we're trying to play the competitive side of things, even though that last ability is probably worth 1 enter, we're trying to get it for cheaper, so we want it at 1.5. So realistically, I want to see the grow cost of this be 3 total, tops, and it is not. So I would not play this. I consider this one a little bit more unplayable. Yes, it has the attack phase timing, but the attack phase timing we want free. We don't want to pay a ton extra for the attack phase timing. Let's look at some more Akios. Akio Peace. This one has a grow cost of 2. It's modular, and the fact that it has 3 different enters with that cost some amount of enter. I hate enter. Anyways, it has attack phase timing. Its enter ability is return target level 1 Signy from your opponent's hand to the opponent's field to the opponent's hand. It's level 2 enter ability, where you gotta pay 2 enter, is discard a card, return target level 2 Signy to your opponent's field to their hand. And then the third one is enter, discard 2 cards, return target level 3 Signy on your opponent's field to the opponent's hand. Okay, so one thing that you should do when you're looking at all these modular cards is never to look at them as a oh, this costs 6 enter plus 3 cards. It doesn't. It could cost that, but realistically it costs 2 enter in order to toss a level 1 to the opponent's hand. And then it has added abilities of being able to discard some cards and do some mixture of the other stuff. I don't like the mixture of the other stuff, to be honest with you here. I would rather, and this is part of OCD, I guess, have it say the enter ability for the second ability would cost colorless and then toss a level 2 back, and then the other one would be 2 colorless and maybe discard 2 cards. Discarding cards in an aggro deck, which No Limit is a pretty big concern. You don't have a ton of extra cards to just toss away easily. And yes, Rey does draw you some cards, but not so much continuously that you can just pay this cost and it doesn't mean anything to you. Realistically, I would have rather it just not had the discard stuff or not had the enter stuff, and I'd be more happy with it. As it stands right now, this is too much to do here, and I would say that this is probably not playable. So that makes Akio Paper not great, Akio Peace not great. What about Akio Bye Bye? It has a grow cost of 2. Return target Signy on your opponent's control over to its hand, and then you have another ability where you can pay white, colorless, add target card with guard from your trash to your hand. Yeah, this one's good. This one's makes up for all the other ones. It has an attack phase timing, by the way, too. So you get something where you can interact with your opponent, which is good, and you get an ability to change race math. This will be good in a mid-range deck, this will be good in an aggro deck. No matter where you place it, this will be solid. So this is a good Akio. I'd say this one's a staple. It sucks that you are in No Limit and you're limited to basically just playing Rock and Bye-Bye, but that's how it is. That's how the Japanese meta is doing it. That's what I would do. Okay, we've got Rey Flashblade as the next No Limit team. It's got an grow cost of 0. It has the enter ability of draw 2. The other one is Rey Lunar Blossom. It's kind of similar. Level 1, grow cost of 0. You get to draw a card, and the opponent has to discard a card at random. Both of these are good. They're good at slightly different things. If you are more of a discard-focused deck and you need less draw because you have a ton of incidental draw because you're in blue, mono like blue team break stuff, Lunar Blossom's pretty good. If you are in an aggressive deck and you kind of just want a little bit of interaction with your opponent in order to try to pull out a guard or pull out a key spell in order to make them stumble long enough in the early game that you can finish off the end game, in the middle of the game or something, then Lunar Blossom is good. But standard in a vacuum, Rey Empty Blade is probably better. It has a grow cost of 1, which matters sometimes, but not a ton. Does this one have a grow cost? Nope. So I do like this one a little bit better because it does have a no grow cost. But this one has a grow cost of 1, and you get 2 cards for that 1, and then making the opponent discard 2 cards. Oh, no, excuse me. I'm way ahead of myself. I knew this is wrong. I was like, there's no way this is a level 1 has a grow cost. I've been playing it wrong this whole time. No, this one is draw 2 cards, bog standard. In a vacuum is better, so just go ahead and rock this one as your basic, unless you are trying to do something a little tricky, in which case go for the Lunar Blade. Moving right along into the level 2s here, Rey Empty Blade costs 1 grow. See, we got there, guys. Has the enter of draw 2 cards, your opponent discards 2 cards at random. Yeah, it costs 1 to draw 2, and that's fine. That's actually perfectly reasonable. The added bonus that you can make the opponent discard 2 cards at random, him to Torok them, for 1 enter is nuts. So this is great. I would be using this in my aggro decks, I'd be using this in my mid-range decks, I'd be using this in my control decks. The ability is just awesome in total. The ability to reload some gas when you're an aggro deck, the ability to mess up the opponent's hands for mid-range decks, and the ability to just get the key pieces that you need to do and mess up their resources as a control deck is solid. So this one's just a solid 1 staple, use it, love it, enjoy it. I think Rey Absolute Zero is also a choice if you're specifically an aggro deck. I wouldn't necessarily use it in a controller mid-range deck. It has the attack phase timing, its grow cost is 3, but it puts any Signy on your opponent's field into the bottom of their deck. That's even better than putting it in their hand because it's basically gone. The opponent then has to discard a card as well, so it does mess with their resources a little bit. I mean, aside from messing with their resources that are clearly on the field. I would use this in No Limit if I was specifically trying to look for more lane opening. Like I've got some control decks here, not being able to target certain bigger creatures that I can do with my red stuffs, then I might choose this as a way to get the extra lane and finish the game off. It's playable. I wouldn't consider it a staple, but it's definitely playable. Then we have Rey Rending Blade. It has a grow cost of 4, and you can down 2 target Signy on your opponent's field. And then its other enter ability is you can pay blue, colorless, and down target Signy on your opponent's field. So you have the potential to, for a total of 7, down the entire field. Is it good? I don't think it's good in No Limit, because for 7 enter or even 4 enter, you're trying to open up the last lanes and win the game. And you probably are the one racing, so you don't necessarily need this. I think you could play it if you were No Limit and there was just nothing but No Limit decks in your meta. So I would say it is barely playable, but not super playable. If you're going outside of teams, since it has the attack phase timing and everything, it is playable. It's still not exciting. There are better versions of this in different blue stuff. For example, Madoka, I think, has some good downing options that you might consider over Rey. But it's a thought. And Madoka also has some draw and then can down stuff. So Madoka might just be better if you're looking for that team break. Moving on to our next team, we're going to talk about card jockey here. We've got card jockey DJ Lovett Scratch level 1. It has the grow cost of 0. It has the ability to vanish target Signy on your opponent's field with 10,000 power or less. So basically everything that you're going to be getting with Akio Rock, you're going to be getting with DJ Lovett. And that is good. I would consider that a staple. It is just a very strong red lane opener, period, if you're looking for a red lane opener. And in the card jockey deck, it's actually also good because you're trying to open up some lane, get some extra damage in before you pull off your endless punchline. We have DJ Lovett Scratch ×2, which has the enter ability of discard a card and pay colorless. Target Signy on your field gets double crush. I don't think this one's as good. You're basically paying 1 extra enter, and you're also discarding a card in order to do the same thing that you would do with Scratch, right? Scratch is inevitably going to open up 1 lane, and it's going to then, because it's opened up a lane, cause a life crush, right? This is opening up 1 lane, not opening up a lane. You have to have an open lane prior to it, but you're giving something double crush. It's going to crush 2. So it's just so easy to blow out. I don't think there's any tribal double crush stuff happening now or in the future either. I would not play this one personally. I would pass. Let's talk about level 2s. DJ Lovett Mix. When this enters, you can vanish target Signy on your opponent's field with 8,000 or less. You also get target Signy on your field gets Assassin till the end of turn. Target Signy on your field gets Lancer till the end of turn. It has the grow cost of 3 and no attack phase timing. This one's good. I actually genuinely like DJ Love It Mix. I think it has 3 is not a unreasonable cost in Card Jockey, but it's also a serious card cost in Card Jockey because they are often enter starved. But the ability to lane open and then the ability to have Lancer and Assassin can get some late game life cloth crush that you might need to finish out the game. It basically enables reach. So if you're looking for having a little bit more reach, your meta has got a lot of, I don't know, Diagram and Uchu in it. This is a very valid option, especially if you kind of wait out your opponent's assists and then you just go with this, pull it out of nowhere, and then win the game. Otherwise, you have your other DJ Love It. So let's start with this one, DJ Love It Crossfade. I actually like this one quite a bit. It's a cost 2 grow, and in my head, it's very modular. It just vanishes target signature on your opponent's field. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything. It just vanishes it. And then you have the ability of paying red, colorless, 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 and you can crush one of your opponent's life cloths basically directly. This is a strong card, but a very strange card. It has an attack phase timing too, by the way. It is good in the early game as just to vanish, open a lane, attack through that lane, and then kind of get my aggro on. While in the late game, if you're seeing like, oh no, this is gonna go to turn 6 or 7, you can just kind of sandbag it, then open up a lane, get some damage in there, and then also go for the crush your opponent's life cloth, and then you'll be able to just get that last life cloth that you need to crush, and then you'll win the game. So I like this one a lot as a modular card. It reads really well as an early game card you might need to do to fend off offense. It also reads as a very good late game card offensively if the game starts stalling out. Your other option here is to play DJ Love It Beat Jug. Also got the attack phase timing. Its grow cost is 1. And its enter ability is vanish target signature on your opponent's field with 10,000 or less. And then you can pay, red, colorless, 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 and vanish target signature on your opponent's field with 10,000 or less. So basically you can double lane open for a very expensive cost. I don't like it as much. I think it's fine as just a literally grow with 1 enter and vanish something. So it can be cheap on that end, but you're very, 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 very rarely going to do that second enter ability. I think that you've got better options in your card jockey options here. I also do like card jockey in general. Love It in general. It's just a general red break teams, because the ability to basically have a level 1 that does a very easy vanish, and then a level 2 that can be aggressive or mid-range-ish, and another level 2 that can be aggressive or mid-range-ish. Kind of lets you have the pick of the litter of what you're trying to do if you're trying to add some red supplemental effects or double down on your red effects. VJ Wolf here, level 1, vanish target signature on your opponent's field with power 7,000 or more. I don't think this one's very good. I don't think Q is good. You're very rarely going to be leveling this up until turn 3, really, to have a good target for it. Even like Lancelot, for example, is not a target for it. So I would pass on this one, just pretty much completely here. It's cool that green gets a pretty cheap lane opener, but it's not very good, I don't think. VJ Laser is better. It has the ability to grow for 0, and look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 2 of them that share a color with the center among your enter zone, and then you may put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is basically a glorified Enter Charge 2. And for what it's worth with this Enter Charge 2, which is the bog standard but good green level 1 ability, is that you get to pick which cards you're Enter Charging. And as such, it is slightly more powerful. That helps with Card Jockey's deck thinning that they want to do for Endless Punchline, but it also is just genuinely good because you can see what cards you're putting in there and go like, oh yeah, no, you know what, I'm not in the control matchup, therefore I don't need these 2 end game finishers, so let me go ahead if I see one, I'm going to go ahead and immediately put it into my enter zone. Just selection is just better than non-selection in general. So I would take this one over the other level 1. Moving right along into VJ Wolf's level 2s. We got VJ Wolf Sync. It is a level 2, costs 4 to grow. It has the attack phase timing. Look at the top card of your life cloth, then choose one of the following. You can either shuffle your deck and put the top card of your deck into your life cloth, or you can shuffle the top card of your life cloth into your deck and then add the top 2 cards of your deck into your life cloth. Basically, no matter what you choose, you're going to be gaining 1 life cloth for the cost of 4 enter, and that is actually on rate. It is absurdly powerful to just get a life cloth. The fact that you can even kind of have somewhat control over it to add more life bursts into your life cloth is very, very good. Life bursts can be swingy on the normal game, so being able to basically control to get 2 of them, and perhaps the 2 of them you want, is much, much stronger. It's also good in card jockey in general. If you haven't activated Endless Punchline for some reason by now, it helps thin out your deck to Endless Punchline a little bit better. It's great against aggro. It's less good against mid-range and control, and you might want to consider swapping it out if you're finding that in your meta. As a normal green assist, if you're team breaking, you might want like if you've got a lot of aggro, you might consider something like this, because aggro will undercharge you to that 4 pretty quickly with their lane opening. So you might consider this as being a nice assist to have on the side. VJ Wolf actually has a few playable level 2s, so that's pretty good. This one stinks, VJ Wolf Stream. It's got the attack phase timing, its grow cost is 2, and you can vanish all of the Signy on your opponent's field of 13,000 or more. That's basically going to vanish 0 to 1 of your opponent's cards, so I wouldn't play this one personally. It's just not super, super grand. I don't think there's any deck that's really consistently playing 13,000 or more, other than maybe At in Ancient Surprise is not super great. We got VJ Wolf on Mirage. It's got the attack phase timing, grow cost 0. Again, it's one of those modular cards, so don't view these all together. But you have the enter ability. The first one is all your Signy get plus 5,000 or more. Its second enter ability is green, colorless, vanish target Signy on your opponent's field with power less than a Signy on your field. And then its second or third one is colorless. When target Signy on your opponent's field attacks this turn, you can negate this attack. Okay, so let's break it down. This card is actually quite good and a very realistic option to choose over the one that repairs your life cloth. Having a surprise ambush of going all of your Signy get plus 5,000 till end of turn means that you're going to dodge like a lot of red's removal. You're going to dodge a lot of black's removal. So if you're up against something that when it attacks, destroy something 5,000 or less, yeah, you can just do this and be like, yeah, that'll never happen. You can also then wall out an aggro attack very completely with this, right? They've got it set up to basically just wreck your field and just attack through with everything. Maybe they got stuff with Lancer, for example. You just give everything buff and go, nah, that's not happening today. You also have the ability to lane open with this, and it does cost 3, which is a little higher than I want to pay, but I mean, it's in green, so I guess I'll take it because green has bad removal. And this is completely fine to do. So if you were to tell me that I could play an assist that would buff my team on the attack phase and then do a lane opening for 3 enter, I'd be like, yeah, perfectly reasonable. I'm fine with this. Having the ability to, if you're like, yeah, I don't really need to lane open, let me go ahead and instead negate an attack, or I'm up against aggro and I just have that enter because they've been attacking me and vanishing all my cards, so I can negate a Signy attack. Yeah, do it. It seems great. This card is, again, that last ability is probably overcosted. I'd rather see it cost 2, but this is a very valid option over the repairing life cloth version. And that is basically VJ Wolf in a nutshell. Would I play VJ Wolf in a broken team? Less. I think there are other better. I like Bang a lot as an assist, for example. and I like Senga a lot as an assist. You reasonably could play VJ Wolf, and it would give you something, but it would be more like if I was playing a center that already did the things that I'm trying to do, and I'm just trying to get some early enter charging from my green assist on the side. I'm trying to double down on my green. Maybe I'd play that as it. As such, I think this is a staple. And then I think your Mirage and your Sync are two very playable options for VJ Wolf. All right, let's go over to my team here. Let's talk about Uchu no Hajimari's Nova Dirty. Nova Dirty has the enter ability level 1 and grow cost 0 to look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 white Signy and 1 blue Signy, add them to your hand, put the rest on the bottom in any order, in a random order. This card's great. I would say this one's a staple. You're going to be playing this in all of your Uchu decks, mostly because the other Nova is not good, Nova Mute, and I wouldn't be sad to play this. You are awkward in, if you have Bang as a center, that you want green cards and this thing only finds white cards and blue cards. So it's not so good there. If you were going to break teams and you are going to play a white-blue deck, yeah, Nova is a very valid option, I think. Even her growing assist is also a valid option for any deck that's going to be playing white and blue. So at that point, I would say this is very playable for that type of deck too. Digging 7 is a crap ton, and you will find pretty much anything you need. The number that you're going to need, basically, here's a little cheat number, is you'll need around 11 of white Signy and 11 of blue Signy to hit about 91 point some % of the time when you use this for both cards. Let's go to Nova, though I'm cheating here and just telling you that Nova Mute is bad. Nova Mute has the better art and is also bad. It's one of the few level 1s, though, with attack phase timing, so I get that it can't be too powerful, but you have to discard a card and pay a colorless in order to make target opponent's field not be able to attack that turn. It doesn't even come with the standard white draw card. If it came with the standard white draw card, I would be happy with it, because I'd be like, okay, it stops an attack for an enter, and then I could basically loot. I discard a card and I draw a random card. That would be playable. It wouldn't be great. It would be playable. This, as it stands, losing a card, paying an enter just to stop one early game attack, is probably not playable. It's cool that it has the attack phase timing. I wish there was more level 1s with attack phase timing. Then we have Nova Chapa. This has attack phase timing. Grow cost is 0. When it enters, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You can put a Signy from among them into the battlefield. You can have to bottom the rest. Note that it's a Signy. It can be any Signy. It's an ambush. Ambushes are cool. They're kind of cool on assists, but not great on assists, so I don't love them. I like them more in life bursts. If you're getting a life burst with an ambush, cool, it's a playable. This, on your assists, you want your assists to do more than this, even though it is free. I don't think it's all that great, because you have to, I don't want lane opening, and if there's a lane open, I'd rather respond by removing my opponent's Signy in that lane and having a lane open for me than to just fill that lane. Not super great. But talking about super things, we've got Nova Supernova. It has a grow cost of 4. Just the main phase timing, because it would be broken with the attack phase timing. Return all Signy on your opponent's field to their hand. It's a board wipe on a Signy, or on assist. That's great. Having a control deck that can have access to an on-demand board wipe is amazing. However, though, here's a weird thing. It doesn't really work well with Uchu. Uchu, yes, there's a combo where you can toss all of the cards back into their hand, and then you can use your piece and make them discard all of those cards. So in essence, you've just made them trash 3 Signy on their field for very cheap. Basically 4 enter. The issue is that 4 enter. You, for the center, want to Kirby up all of your cards. as soon as possible, all of your assists. And because of that, that means you want your assists to grow quicker than not. And as such, this card is not the most valid option in the world because it's just awkward timing-wise. But if you're breaking teams and you're playing a control deck that like a white control deck that wants an on-demand board wipe, it's fucking fantastic. You can also play more of a tempo-based deck where you aren't so focused on getting your Dr. Tamago to do its Kirby ability, and it would be very valid there as well. However, that being said, and to be clear here, I actually like Supernova a lot. I'm sad I'm not using it, but in my testing, I've found that Nova Slash is the better card. It costs 3, which is less than 4. I know it's not a lot less than 4, but it's a lot more than you'd think. It has the attack phase timing, which is great, and it can mess with your opponent's aggro towards you, which you want to do in a stall deck. It has the ability to put target Signy in your opponent's field to the trash. So you're immediately putting it to the trash. No enter zone for this guy. That's great. And then has the optional ability to toss a white in there. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal a Signy from among it, add to your hand, put the rest on the bottom in any order. That can be a guard, for example, or that can be a level 3 that you need to basically win this game, start to close this game out. It doesn't have a color restriction, doesn't have a level restriction. It's good. Like I said, Nova is a pretty good white control, if you decide to break teams, a white control option. So that's something you might consider. Let's talk about Bang. Bang has the stereotypical green level 1 enter charge 2. Is that good? Yep. It's great. Use it. Love it. Enjoy it. It's the bog standard that you want seeing green here. I never noticed until I actually really looked at it that Tamago is just chilling in the background there. Then you have this one, Bang Repeat. It has a grow cost of 1. You can add a Signy from your enter zone to your hand, and you also have the ability to vanish a Signy with power 10,000 or more. Less good. I would say barely playable. The fact I don't like taking cards from my enter zone. I like using cards in my enter zone. And Uchu is not the deck where you're enter charging so much that you have a wide option of stuff to take out of it and still leave yourself with enter to do stuff with. If you decide to team break and go for more of a green enter charge-esque deck, this could become an option, although I still think it's a pretty not super option. But it's an option nonetheless. Bang Patissimo. You gotta say it quietly. Patissimo. Is some music people out there will get that joke. Has an enter ability, grow cost 0 of vanish target level 3 Signy on your opponent's field. Add up to 1 Signy from your enter zone to your hand. I think this is probably the better one if you were going to go with that. You can add it. You also don't have to add it to your hand, and you can vanish a target level 3, which... Oh, actually, excuse me, this is a level 1. Never mind, don't play this one. You're never going to target a level 3 with your level 1. You're going to be growing it, and that's it. So don't play this one. My bad, I missed the level 1. Let's go to level 2. Bang de Capo. I think this one's great. It has a grow cost of 1. It has a attack phase timing as well. It says the next time that you take damage this turn, instead you do not take that damage, and then you can also pay green colorless. The next time you take damage this turn, you do not take that damage, so you can do it up to twice. I think that's an amazing option. You should recognize that No Limit will have the ability to give its Lrig double crush, and this prevents that double crush damage, not because it does it twice, but because one instance of preventing double crush will prevent both crushes, so it plays double duty there. It's great against mid-range. It's great against aggro to turn the race against them. It's less good against control decks. Like if you're up against the Uchu Mirror, this is not all that great, but you can pull it off in order to just save yourself at least 1 life damage. And then you have Bang Big Bang. This one's not good. Don't use it. It has the grow cost of 7. That's the main reason why. Basically, it says attack phase timing. Each player shuffles all the cards in their Signy zone back to their deck. Look at the top 7 cards of their deck. They put any number of Signy into their field, and put the rest into the trash. It is a glorified lane closer, aka an ambush effect, and like I said, I don't like ambush effects on my assists, and this costs 7 to do it, so it's probably even worse. The fact that it does your field, you have no control over what you're putting out. It does your opponent's field, you have no control over what they're putting out, which is good, but it also refreshes them entirely, is less good. So I wouldn't play Big Bang if I was you. Let's go on to our last team we need to talk about, and that would be Diagram. All right, so Diagram, you've got 2 options as your Madoka level 1s, and we should stress that level 1s in this are going to matter more than the level 2s, because with your Diagram abilities and even future Diagram abilities, you have the ability to toss one of these back into your Lrig deck and replay them. As such, you're going to be looking for, in specifically Diagram, something that you want to play twice. Not just early game, but mid game as well. So let's see what Madoka Float does. For a grow cost of 0, you can discard a card and then draw 3 cards. You're playing a deck that has black in it, so you probably care about having some amount of stuff in your graveyard. Plus, being able to dig 3 deep is, and for the cost of this 1 card that isn't going to be relevant for the next at least 2 to 3 turns, is great. Madoka Float's probably one of the stronger draw cards in the game, period. It's not broken, but it is very, very good. And I wouldn't be mad doing that mid game as well, because I'm looking for very specific things, either cards to end the game, guards to stop bleeding, or some spells to do something else with. Looking at Madoka's next level 1, Madoka Slide, you have the ability to put level 2 or less Signy in your opponent's field to the bottom of their deck, aka better removal, at the cost of 1 enter. Yeah, this is also a very good option. Madoka's got great level 1s, so if you are, for some reason, a deck that wants to play more aggressively, you can do this. If you're a deck that wants to play more mid-range like, I would use Float. Both are very playable. I think Float is probably considered a staple over Slide, but you could use Slide and not feel too terrible about it. Let's talk about the level 2s here. Madoka Dub. She's got the dub! It's got the attack phase timing. Its enter ability is blue. You can make the opponent discard a card at random, and then you also can down a card on your opponent's field and draw a card. Yeah, very strong. I wouldn't begrudge anyone for playing this. It plays a little bit more low to the ground than I think Diagram decks need to. They don't necessarily need to have their enter costs be so low for their assists. But this will do the job that you need to do. I just think you probably, in Diagram specifically, have a little bit more room to pay more enter for bigger effects if you want. However, there is a Diagram deck later down the line, set 2 and on, that are going to have some amount of discard involved in it, and then this has that attached to it as incidental discards, so this is a good option then. Let's go to Madoka Break. Madoka Break has the attack phase timing, grow cost 2. You can put target Signy on your opponent's field to the bottom of its owner's deck unless that opponent discards 2 cards. You can pay 3 enter, that's going to be blue, colorless, and put target Signy on your opponent's field onto the bottom of the deck unless the opponent discards 2 cards. Here's the dealio, alright? You should know that when you are playing cards that have multiple enter abilities, you do them in order. So you do the first one, right? And if the opponent decides to discard 2 cards and is like, yeah, I don't want to get rid of this card, you can then pay the second one after the fact and then target the same Signy again to make them discard 4 cards in total if you want to do that. Or, you know, it doesn't happen simultaneously, so you're not naming multiple targets with this. You could name multiple targets with this, but you don't have to. Is Madoka Break good? The answer is, as much as I want to say that it's amazing, it is slightly lower than playable. It's not barely playable, but it's playable. And the reason why is giving your opponents a choice for anything is never great. So even though the cost is very high, discarding 4 cards to basically keep 1 Signy alive is quite high. If it's going to win them the game, they'll gladly discard those 4 cards, or they won't have more than 2 cards in hand and they won't care about your second ability. So I mean, they have to care, right? Because they have to discard the cards. But it's just like it might turn into a thing where it doesn't matter too much. My point is, on this rant, is that giving your opponents the option is never great. It is playable though because the cost for giving that opponent the choice is so high, and there are some discard synergies later down the line in this deck. I'd say it's playable. When you do team breaking, is it playable? It becomes a little less playable, I think. But for diagram, it's okay. You've got Madoka Clap. I think this one's your staple, personally. In a deck like Diagram, which is a little bit more of a late game mid-range deck, having access to something like this, a modular just destroying an attack phase, is great. It's got attack phase timing, grow cost is 2. Your first enter, down target Signy on your opponent's field. You can discard 2 cards, down target Signy on your opponent's field. You can pay blue, colorless, down target Signy on your opponent's field. If you don't have the enter, you're downing 2 things. If you don't have the cards, you're downing 2 things. If you don't have any of them, you can still down 1 thing. It is very good. It's good against aggro. It's actually pretty good against a alpha control tack when they're like, all right, I'm trying to get this game over with. It's a good card to have. I would say staple for this type of deck if you're trying to be a little bit of more of a late game deck. If you break teams and you're going into control, this is also very good. The fact that it is so flexible in terms of its costs, some costs enter, some cost cards, and you usually have an abundance of at least one of them in the game, means that you are always going to at least be able to down 2 in my experience. So I would call that a staple. All right, last one, Senga. Senga Aerial. Target level 2 or less Signy on your field gains Lancer for the grow cost of 0. Lancer for that cheap is very rare. It only really exists in green, and it is amazing. Being able to do this early game when the opponent probably doesn't have assists with attack phase timing means that you're pretty much always guaranteed to at least get one of these off. And then later down the line, you're guaranteed to get the second version off when you're repeating it with your Musica or your Madoka. So I would say this one's staple. Personally, this is my preferred version of putting these into the deck. Giving something Lancer or giving something the ability to draw is just very good in terms of like, all right, what kind of thing am I going? Am I racing? Cool, I will double down on this one. If my going late game, I'll double down on this one. So I think this card is a staple. I would run it. It's pretty good. It's sad that you're not really getting any enter charge for your level 1, but it's, I think, better than the enter charge here, so I would take it. This is an enter charge as well. It puts 2 cards from without guard from your trash to your enter zone. You are so not likely to have 2 cards in your trash on turn 1 that this is not super great, and sandbagging it to get some enter charge double is not super great either. So I wouldn't play this one personally. I think it's barely playable, but not very playable. Senga Shake, level 2, attack phase timing, grow cost 2. This Lrig gains the ability of twice in a turn. Whenever an Lrig or a Signy on your opponent's field attacks, you can negate that attack till end of turn. It's super playable. It's just a good way to stall later. So I would say this is playable. I think most of Senga's level 2s are playable, so you have your pick of the litter for this type of effect. If you're looking to stall, it would be pretty good. Is it good on team breaking? Yeah, it's fine. It's a good option to have on team breaking. Senga Strike. It has a grow cost of 2, and you get to vanish a target Signy on your opponent's field. Again, having just the ability to vanish any Signy for 2 in green is pretty rare for team breaking. Its enter ability is green, colorless. Next time you take damage this turn, said you do not take that damage. I also think this is a pretty good one to stave off aggro. So if you're looking to stave off aggro, this might be a better option than some of the other choices, but it is good. It's good. It's playable. Again, I think you've got your pick of the litter as to what you want to be using. And then you've got Senga Parallel. It has the attack phase timing, grow cost of 1. You can put target Signy in the enter zone to the field, and the enter abilities do not activate this way. And then you can pay 3, and you can vanish target Signy on your opponent's field with 10,000 or more. I don't like this one as much, I gotta be honest with you. But again, I just don't like ambushing on my my assists very much, so I still don't think this one's all that great. But it is an option that you have if you need it, and the second enter ability is pretty okay, so it is worth at least mentioning that it is barely playable. And I think that's it, everybody. We've done it. We've gone over all of the options. So for team breaking, you know, like I said, there's some that I would pick over others. I like Rey a lot as a team break. When you're talking about team breaking, you probably should think about both levels, not just one, because it will be important to consider all of the things that team breaking with this character will give you, rather than just, oh, this is a modular thing that I can swap out some stuff for, like it is more in actual teams. I like Akino, but I don't like how versatile it is, because there's just not very many options for it. Rey has a ton of options in both its level 1 and its level 2, as does DJ Lovett. Wolf is a little worse for teams. Nova's good for teams. Bang is probably not super great for teams. Madoka's awesome for teams. Sanga is pretty good for teams. And that's all of them. So that's my opinion, guys. If you guys want to learn more about some sets in the future, go ahead and subscribe so you guys can see more about sets, deck techs, and other things that you might want to learn more about the competitive side of Wixoss. If you have anything that you want to say or bring up anything that you think I said maybe was wrong or have different opinion, please feel free to comment below.